can, just a brief reflection on Tuesday's game. Was the disappointment for you, obviously going out of the FA Cup and losing a game of football, is it fair to say that on the night the Steelers looked like they wanted it more?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. To be totally honest, I think there are just so many factors. I think if you look at the timing of the sending off, I think we go in at half time, 1-0 up, and the position we're in, I think we're only going to get better second half after we'd had a conversation around how to deal with their diamond and what to do, etc. So no, like, I get to see the group every single day, and the one thing I have to say that I feel really fortunate at the minute and that we speak around regularly is that the consistency of earning the right to play games, to play our style, and to win football matches. So I have to say I think the group go out there, work as hard as they can, they compete as best they can. They might not always get bits right in terms of tactically or the odd mistake, which everybody does and happens in every game. But I wouldn't say it was down to that, no.
And I don't want to dwell on the referee's performance. Nobody wants to dwell on the referee's performance, but referees can have good and bad games and bad decisions. When you have a situation like that, and I'm just wondering from a head coach and from a club's perspective, what happens not at Stevenage but after the game? Do you as a club lodge complaints about the referee? Do you speak to somebody in charge? What's the process then?
Yeah, so after each game we complete an assessment on how we felt the game went. So we assess the officials' performance, which we submit a report. And we've had a couple of calls. We've had follow-up calls, not this week, but before, around basically just to understand the process of what gets done with that report, and how the assessors support the referees and the officials, etc. So we fill in the report. We provide feedback on how we think the game went, how we think they did, and then we who that goes to. We've had meetings with them as well just to discuss things that have happened in the past. So again, I think it's also being quite clear that we don't dwell on it. We don't like we say, we're ultimately they're human. Can have good games, bad games, and I think the biggest thing for us was to go, right, what do we learn from it? Deal with the frustration, the emotional side of it, and ultimately, look, we're not going to change anything, so let's not keep dwelling on it. Let's move on and get ready for Saturday.
We spoke a couple of weeks ago about how important it was coming back to Stadium MK and making that that home form decent and performing well in front of the home fans. And for any team in any division, it's a really important part of the makeup, isn't it? Home form.
No, definitely. And again, I thought it was terrific last week, and even Tuesday. So focused on the game and everything that happened after the game. Obviously, actually, I forgot to mention. I thought the fans were terrific at Stevenage on Tuesday night. The fact they stayed behind after extra time to, clap the lads, I thought was tremendous. And it's obviously a shame for them how the game ended. But I think when you look at the support we had that night, and then even against Cambridge last week, I think coming back here again. And playing in front of them tomorrow, should give us a lift, should give us a buzz, definitely. I think, and I'm looking forward to it again. I think, obviously we did well here last weekend. It's now around, can we build on that? Can we, to continue to progress and, deliver performances and results at home?
In the top six, and I suppose you just want to stay there. That's the key. I said, I think in one of the commentaries recently that, I expect it to be concertina to a certain extent. There'll be teams who are starting to really come good now, the likes of Portsmouth, and you feel like some of the bigger clubs are starting to push through. There's going to be a lot of teams fighting for those playoff spots. Yeah,
I think if you look at the level of teams and the size of clubs in the league, it's got to be one of the most difficult League Ones in many years, to be fair. And I think what you'll find is that clubs will go on runs, where they pick up consecutive victories and go on them streaks where they pick up, many points. So, and then I think you get similar where I think you get then some teams will go on little losing streaks as well. I think the league is that difficult, and the the level of opposition is that difficult that there isn't any gimmies in this league. I don't think at all. So, I think when you look at it, I think what's important is that it's trying to put them streaks together. I think that's the biggest challenge. We obviously had one earlier in the year. I think is can we repeat that? Can we get back to it? And I think many clubs will be the same. Whereas if you can get back to back victories and pick up some momentum, I think that's the key in terms of one picking up points and having an impact in league positions by the end of the season. But I think more importantly, it's then around performances. It's around momentum. It's around confidence for the group. And I think that's the biggest thing for me that I'll be looking for going into tomorrow is can we can we build on some of the really good stuff from the Cambridge game last week, and can we improve? Can we add some more bits to it? That we reflected on, and ultimately that's what helps you then go on them streaks. If you continually take the positives out of games and continually look to get better.
I know you've talked either to me or to Toby or to one of my colleagues about this recently, but it must be great for you as a head coach to see your front men like Scott Twine and Max Waters scoring goals, and Max in particular, who I think we're speaking to today, really starting to show what he's capable of.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said earlier in the interview, I get to see them every day, and I see how hard they work. I see how much they want to improve. I see how often they practice the finishing in training. So it's no coincidence that people improve and get better, and their levels get higher. And I think that with a group we've got, for me, because of so many of them have so much potential, it's around now, can we shift that into performance? Can we actually work really hard to, rather than it being fits and spurts, can we get to a level where we churn out performances individually and collectively week in, week out? So Max did really well last week. He obviously took his goals well, and obviously worked with Twiney to link as well. So I think that's the exciting bit. And we've obviously got Mo as well. So we've got depth. We can have impact. And what we have to do is make sure that all of them understand that they're all going to be needed, and that the challenge is, can they fight it out? Can they help each other improve as players by putting pressure on each other, by delivering week in, week out? Because they win individually because they'll improve as players, but then also the team wins and the culture wins because we've got players that are hungry, that want to improve and want to deliver when they get their opportunities.
I guess that's relevant to any area on the field, isn't it? When you look at the likes of Tenai and Peter Chioso, fighting for the same position, Zach and Louis, and there's little pockets all over the pitch. And I suppose your job is to make that healthy competition, isn't it? Healthy competition that they're working together all the time.
Yeah, and that's the biggest challenge I think that most coaches will face. I think in terms of how do you keep a squad of 24 players that want to play week in, week out happy. And I think the most important thing probably to stress in that, it's not about keeping people happy. I think it's around actually creating a culture where we're open, we're honest, and give feedback, maybe why people aren't playing, and giving people opportunity at the right time when it's warranted, or when a change is needed. So again, I think that's the important bit. It's not necessarily about keeping everybody happy. It's about having a culture where it's an industry where it's about performing, it's about delivering, it's about getting results. So obviously and that's what's probably quite different. Obviously, I think when we look at it from a staff perspective, we look at it through the lens of what does the team need, and I think what you find sometimes is players look at it through a lens of them and themselves. And I think that's the challenge in terms of working with them and being honest. I think massive in terms of going, look, this is what you need to do. This is why you're in the team. This is why you're doing well. Or if you're not in the team, this is what you need to do to get in it. And I think then supporting them and helping them. I think it's really important that the guys all get equal time, all get support, all get opportunities to develop. They get to work hard and impress in training every day. So everybody gets opportunities. So I think we have that in the group. I think the group got a group of players that obviously want to play every week, but at the same point, I think some of them know what they have to do to get in the team, and then the others know that if they're in the team, what they've got to do to stay in it. So that for me is really healthy competition.
Do you expect Burton to be a different side to the Burton that MK Dons faced in the Papa John's?
Yeah. I think if you look, in terms of not just personnel, but they've obviously they've been changing system recently and had some results in the short term. I think. And again, we spoke about it this morning. We're not sure how they'll set up, what they'll do, but I think and credit to Jimmy and his staff. What they have done is they've got a group of players that are fully committed, that are honest, that are hard working, and that are dangerous as well. They've got some real threats within the side. So I think it's more around prepping of what we expect style wise than it is around systems and personnel, to be totally honest. So it then shifts back. We've done that, but it's also about us. So it's around us in terms of how we play, how we approach the game, how we bring our qualities, how we bring our style, our experience into the game to actually try and go and perform and win.
Just finally from me, Liam, I guess looking at the fixtures and how they're panning out, playing Burton at home, just one of these things in football, you'd want to tuck that away as a win with 3 difficult away games in league and the Papa John's Trophy to come, just to get that home game out of the way and maybe 3 points going into those away trips, a couple of them pretty long trips as well. That'd be useful.
Yeah, I think if it'd be nice to be that easy. I think for me, all my energy to be totally honest, since Stevenage, all my energy goes into making sure that we do everything in our power to be ready to perform and win tomorrow. To be totally honest, I think there's so many factors that can change between now and Tuesday that it's not even worth thinking around. I think it's making sure you can't be distracted. You can't take your eye off the ball in this league, especially. So we have to show the complete utmost respect to Burton and the game. Given the fact it's at home, great, but we have to make sure that we're prepared. Which, having seen the guys today and yesterday, I believe we are. It's about making sure we step on the pitch and show what we can do.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, Liam.
Thank you.
Apologies if I've missed it in the last couple of days, but is there any opportunity, or have you already lodged an appeal for Josh Martin's red card?
Yeah, we've submitted an appeal, so we're waiting to hear on the outcome of that.
Sorry to dwell on Tuesday a little bit more, but something that Warren O'Gora said after the game, that you actually do spend time preparing to defend with reduced numbers. I mean, it's obviously something that we've not seen in games so far this season other than on Tuesday night, but I suppose all of this stuff that you do in training obviously comes to fruition in games eventually, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it, and again, we wasn't a structure. We play overload, underloads quite often. So again, I think what it allows us to do is actually in possession get used to trying to beat a low block. But at the same point, what we then get on the the counter of that is obviously the opportunity to defend when you're underloaded and you do have to block up. And I actually think it's one thing the group's really progressed at in our time here at the club in the last sort of 2-3 months. I think we can actually, like we showed at Wigan away, we can have periods where we can soak up pressure and we can defend well. And I think that it's that fine balance. We want to be a team that plays exciting attacking football, that controls possession and is enjoyable to watch from that perspective. But I think it's also being smart enough that we want to engage, we want to press, but at the same point, if we have to sit in block for periods of time, we can also do that. And I think I've spoken a lot to the guys around. It's about being unpredictable and it's about being adaptable. And I think when you look at it, I think what the guys have done a great job at is adapting to certain situations to go, this is what's needed at that given time. And I think that the players have the power in the decision making, and I think that credit to them. They've really stepped up and started to own that and take on elements, and that's what I liked about last week against Cambridge, that there was real variety to how we played. You look at Twiney's tap in at the back post was a really nice long pass and a good run from Max to get in behind off a longer one. You then get the one where Josh McEachran plays through the lines to Twiney. So I thought it was real variety to how we played, and I think that's the bit I like around watching about us at the minute. And we have to keep working hard to get better at is making them decisions to make sure we are unpredictable and we have variety how we attack, but also how we defend. Because again, I think that then sets you up long term to progress and to be successful.
I think I'm going to win the award for earliest mention of January transfer window, given that we are still in the middle of November. But actually, it's more on your loan players, because obviously, the loan players that we've seen so far this season are pretty key guys in your squad. The likes of Max Waters, Troy Parrott, Josh Martin as well, on loan, Ethan Robson, of course. Do you have any sort of conversations with these parent clubs to ensure that they're not going to get hoiked out from underneath you in January? And what's the conversation with these parent clubs?
To be honest, we send them a monthly report giving feedback on how they're doing, what work we're doing with them, the physical data. So we provide reports, we have conversations with that. I have to say, Liam Sweeten obviously speaks to them regularly and has contact with them. I think the biggest thing is, January for me still seems a long way away. So I didn't even want to think around Tuesday not so long ago. So I think the biggest thing for me is we have to be prepared whatever happens. I think, in an ideal world, they'd stay. We'll see how that works out. But I think, ultimately it's around us just concentrating week to week, getting as many results as we can, to make sure that when we go into January, we're in a good spot. I think, that's probably the way I'm looking at it at the minute. I think is with not just the loan players, with any of the players that we have, I think you also then, have a duty to the club to make sure that we're looking at what does the future look like. So I think, you have to have them plans for the, the what ifs and maybes. So again, for me, it's a case of concentrating between now and the window opening to do as well as we can to pick up as many points, so that ultimately it's attractive for the players, to continue here and to continue building on, a good first half of the season.
Double-edged sword, I suppose, isn't it? You want them to really do well, but at the same time, you kind of want to cover them over and say nothing to see here.
Yeah, like I say, for me, it's about the team. I think that's probably the biggest thing I can stress. I think no one player makes our team, and I think that's probably the most important thing is making sure that the team has everything it needs, and we work as hard as we can every single day, and every single window to make sure the team's in the best place to make sure that the club continues moving forward.
And finally, away from the pitch, some of your staff are doing quite a massive feat, if you ask me, running 5k every day during the month to raise money for prostate cancer. I mean, that's some achievement for them to be taking on that challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's terrific, and it's a great cause. I think fair play to the guys that are doing it. They've tried to drag me on a couple, which hasn't happened yet. So no, terrific cause, and it's a terrific achievement for the guys that are doing it. I think it's something I was actually speaking to Simon Crampton last night around it. I actually think it's something in the future as a staff we'd like to do again in terms of something for charity. So we'll definitely be looking at that. I think, yeah, great achievement and I'm sure they will get through it.